Everybody, welcome to another show of the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Steve Suarez of RJ Graham Plumbing, and on today's show, we are going to talk sump pumps. It is springtime, and everybody knows that with spring comes rain, and with rain, people start getting stressed out about their sump pumps. So today, we've got Michael Hart from Zoeller Pump Company, and he's going to talk to us about the different models that they have and different products and what is going to be the best product for you and your application, and probably eliminate some of the myths that are out there with sump pumps and sizing and so forth. Another guest we have on the show that's joining me is our very own Brad LaHood. He is our irrigation specialist and does our RPZ testing. I mentioned Brad probably a couple of shows ago when I congratulated him and his on his engagement to his fiancee Skylar, and he didn't hear it because he was working, and which is good. It's I can dig that he can work, you know. So he was I mentioned his name, so you're going to put a voice to a name, and so I wanted to introduce him, and so Brad, say hi.
You. Hi, everybody.
All right. Now, what do we got going on, Brad? Some of the little, what do we have here? The announcements we've got.
Announcements, things we have in the works. Coming up, April 12th, RJ Graham Plumbing will be the new sponsor of the Rock and Roll Diner on 95.9 The River.
That is awesome. That is, we've got that coming up. And also what we're looking to do is, and we got this in the works, is we have possibly a few remotes that we're going to do to try and support some local businesses. So that's going to be kind of cool. And also, we've got Friday Night Football that we have been the kickoff sponsor. And congratulations to Friday's winner, Lincoln Way East, on their victory over Bolingbrook. That was a very chilly game, and they wound up winning. It was a great game for them. And I wanted to send a couple thanks. Thanks to everybody for listening to the show. It's greatly appreciated, especially with a new show and relative unknowns such as myself. But we're hopefully that we're able to be informative, provide a lot of information, and be able to help you out, and a little bit of an entertainment along the way. I want to thank a few people for making this happen. Scott Slocum for taking a chance on us. Evan, who is the producer here, that has been very helpful to me in kind of refining and making a plumber into the best radio guy he can. And Jessica Begwin for really helping facilitate this process and making it happen. I appreciate all the help from all three of those folks, and you, the listeners, that have been great. So that is definitely. You have no idea how helpful that is. Thanks, Evan, brother. I appreciate it. And what else we got going? What is this show? What do we do this show for, Brad?
What makes the show really good is our goal is to help protect the homeowner, to try and educate. We'll bring guests on, different people, discuss different topics that not just home repair, just all facets of your home, the community. It's really informative.
And if people are going to get a hold of us and they want to reach out to the show, other than, reaching us by text at 708-743-7426, how else can they get a hold of us?
You can get a hold of us at the Prepare to Repair Show at gmail.com. You can check us out online, Prepare to Repair, the number 2, repair.com. And at Facebook, Prepare, the number 2, Repair.
Awesome.
You can also check us out if you miss a show, like myself that was working. Thank you for the shout out. But you can listen on the podcast on Spotify and our YouTube channel with the same name, the Prepare to Repair.
Now, this Thursday on the 25th of March, we've got something that we've partnered with a few other companies that are doing something really, really great, and that's helpful to the community. What would that be, Brad? What do you see us going? What's happening?
So this Thursday on the 25th, we've got The Floor for You, Relentless Carpentry, and RJ Graham Plumbing, along with Ed and Joe's Pizza. We're providing lunch to the school staff at Grand Prairie Elementary School in Frankfort.
Awesome. It's good to help out some of the teachers that are during this tough year.
Yay.
So, and also,
bring in snacks. That'll be good.
well, it's for the teachers. They deserve to eat too.
They do.
So, that's pretty awesome. Now, what we've got coming up as far as our topics is, again, I mentioned prepare for spring. And with spring comes flowers, gardens, and those gardens need water, which, how do you get that water?
That's where I come in. Irrigation. So whether it be, irrigation's a lot of different forms, but whether it be a underground sprinkler system or simple hose, there's all sorts of different ways to get water, and we'll talk about those today. So we'll talk about your spigots, frost-proof spigots, startups of your sprinkler system, and then water protection with backflow and RPZs.
Now, when should people be looking to start up their irrigation system, their sprinkler systems? Now, is there a way to do it too early?
Yeah, it's all really weather dependent, and each season is slightly different. Realistically, if you stick with the rule of thumb of kind of getting things up and going by Mother's Day, you're plenty good. It's still a little early now to be starting up systems as we're getting cold temperatures at night that could cause damage to the heads and the backflow devices. But end of April, early May is really when you want to get up and going with that kind of stuff.
Even though yesterday was the first day of spring, spring season, we're still going to get some snow. We're still going to get some cold weather. So that is definitely going to happen, and that can cause damage to the system. And usually, what do they say? Mother's Day is about the time to think about planting and gardening and so forth. And that's when it's safe, so you're not going to have the frost. Now, spigots is also at the time when people find out that they may have had one freeze and they get water. So it's a good idea to check your spigots, turn them on, have someone in the basement to check them out just in case before you just start running the hose and then come down to a mess in the basement. Now, we talked, Brad, and me and Brad talk a lot as basically working together and in the field and fixing a lot of these, repairing and replacing a lot of these plumbing fixtures. The spigot is one fixture along with faucets and so forth. They're brass, they age, and the wear parts, they start to wear and need to be replaced, which most of them, if they're plastic, if they have rubber gaskets, those can be replaced and you can have them back up and running. Sometimes, depending on how old they are, what happens with that, Brad? What do we run into?
You find that the spigot itself, for those that don't know, we're mostly talking about the frost-proof spigots. When you turn the handle on the outside of the house, you're actually shutting the water off anywhere from 8 inches to maybe 12 inches inside the house so it doesn't freeze. And that's done through a brass tube. That tube can build up with calcium, it can corrode, especially depending on your water quality. So it's difficult sometimes to just get a simple repair kit to repair those spigots. A replacement is usually the better option.
Well, getting the new to mesh up with the old, you go through all that labor and that time and parts, you put it all together, even though you put it together per factory specs, it doesn't mesh and you still have a drip. So you're still at square one. Then if you replace it, then you know that, okay, it's replaced, it's done, you're good to go. Now, spring brings another whole slew of jobs to be done, issues. We've got gas lines that are really popular for pools because with the pandemic, people have stayed at home, and with people staying at home and spending more time at their homes, they're getting pools, they're getting fire pits, they're getting outdoor grills, so they're needing gas lines run. And with some of the issues we're running in with those, and you've seen it, Brad, is they're getting a lot of misinformation on social media about where to get this gas from. We just pull it off of one of the closest spots in the basement, drill through the wall, and you'll save yourself some money. The problem is the BTUs. BTUs is how much energy it takes to operate this particular fixture. So that means if you've got a fire pit that runs off maybe 30,000 BTUs, you probably can pull it off of something that is the closest by. But if it's if you're pulling a grill, which is maybe a little bit more, you may have to go with a little bit bigger of a pipe. If you're going with a gas pool heater that's 150,000 plus BTUs, you got to pull it and size it from the next biggest pipe. And more often than not, the best place to pull it from is going to be from the meter, because the BTUs, the longer the line, you start losing pressure. You have to calculate all that. There's a calculation that has to go. Otherwise, you can go through all this labor, all this work, all this time, and it doesn't work right. And what have you found on that, Brad?
Yeah, we get, and you did mention it, we do see it on social media, or even, somebody giving misinformation. What we don't realize is the pool heater takes so much gas to operate efficiently, and should maybe another gas-fired appliance in your house need to turn on at the same time as that pool heater is running, one of them is going to starve the other one out. So they're not going to work as designed. So it's very important when you're doing a pool heater, any really outdoor gas appliance, that you do the math, you take the formula into effect and figure out how much gas is needed and the proper way to run it. And usually we do run it from the meter, put in proper shutoffs and install everything per depth, per code. It's the best way to do it.
So we do it so it's done right. So when we connect everything operates like it should, and they're getting enjoyable service out of it rather than getting frustrated with the product.
No surprises. Yeah,
exactly. And if we don't do it right, it's free. I mean, we can't charge for something we didn't do. We don't get paid to show up.
100%.
So,
yeah.
And we've got another issue that comes up with the rainy season is yard drainage. Now, that can go, some pumps being discharged. You've got drainage in the backyard where water is being carried away. A lot of information is being brought out where they're talking about dry wells or French drains, which they don't, honestly, they don't work. And why don't they work?
Well, over time, water has to go somewhere. French drain is really just it ends up being a holding tank for water. And over time, they'll fill up with silt and dirt, and they don't work. It's a small fix. You really need to find a place for that water to go when it comes to yard drainage. So a lot of times we'll walk the property, we'll figure out a really good solution for folks that are dealing with, especially this time of year with all the rains, with flooding issues and stuff in their yard.
Now, when I say the French drains or the dry wells, you're basically running water to a location which is in stone. So you're rerouting a ton of water to one location, and it's just all the water from a roof or any other location, patio, whatever the case may be. You're relocating along with your sump pump to a specific location and stopping in a point in your yard. And then you've got also the heavy rain that's coming down. Obviously, that's causing the water to run to that point. You got it coming down and filling that spot as well. So it's going to basically overtax that location. So that's why I say it doesn't work. And to give an idea, 1 inch of rain on a 1,000 square foot roof is about 1,000 gallons of water. So you think about that, that's a lot. Now, talking about yard drainage and sump pumps is going to bring us up to our next guest that's going to be coming up real soon, Michael from Zoeller Pump. So he's going to be talking to us about it, how we're going to get that water that's coming from around the perimeter and getting the pumps that are going to be able to do that and do it properly, where you're not going to burn out pumps. You got to get the proper pump for the proper application. And you can people think bigger is better. They can just go, anybody can do a sump pump, which they can. Honestly, it's I guess you could do it if you want. It's not really, if you're handy, it's not that complicated. But as far as this particular application, you need to know what's the right pump. And going and getting a 1 horsepower pump from the big box store and without thinking bigger is better, how does that work?
It doesn't. It's ultimately you're all of us that have sump pumps in our basement. You're running that water through. It's usually an 1.5 inch pipe. So if you get a bigger pump, higher horsepower pump, you're trying to push all that water at a greater force than that pipe can handle. Think of it like people going down a hallway. If you have a handful of people, they can work down a hallway fine. You get hundreds of people going down a hallway, they're all going to bump into each other. They're going to get crushed. It's the same thing when you add a higher horsepower pump into your sump pit. It's just not designed for it. The piping isn't designed for it. It's not going to work efficiently, and you're going to end up choking that pump and burning that pump out quicker.
4 lanes of traffic into 2.
Exactly.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break, and then on the other side of the break, we're going to bring in Michael Hart from Zoeller Pump to talk to us about pumps. That we install is the M53, which is the third horse. What would you say about that particular pump? What's your opinions on that as a rep? You're talking to customers that are looking to buy this.
I would recommend that as, probably the most used pump out of our entire pump line. I would say anywhere from about 90% of our home installs will use this, unless they're on a floodplain and we need to go a little bit higher. But, the curve of it, don't be afraid by the horsepower, because, you're actually doing about 35 gallons per minute at 10 feet ahead, which, when you hear it, it can sound like a lot, but think about 35 gallons of milk per minute that you're pulling out of that pit. So, like you had said earlier, you want to size it out right, and you kind of want to hit that curve. When we size these out, we look at the GPM, or gallons per minute, and your head, which is how high up you need to pump. And I love the fact that you touched on you can oversize these pumps. So, with this being a third horsepower, it fits the curve very, very well, because if you go too strong with it, you run into what we would call short cycling, which is the pump is going on and off too much, and it actually will burn out the motor of your pump.
Right. You don't want it to work too hard. If it works too hard,
correct.
The way I kind of describe it, and Brad here is going to chime in and probably, maybe agree with me, or maybe tell him I've lost my mind, but we'll see how it goes. You never know. With a pump, I always tell, the homeowners, the pump is kind of like running a marathon. If you've never run a marathon before, and you think you're going to get off the couch and run a marathon, you're going to fall flat on your face. But if you've trained for it and you do that, your chances are you're going to do well. Now, if your pump doesn't pump, and then all of a sudden you're expecting it to pump, tremendous amount of water for an extended period of time, there's a good chance it may fail. So, and if it pumps too little, then it can have other effects. Now, you want to have a pump, in order for your pump to work right, you want that sweet little spot, that sweet little curve where that pump is getting exercised. It's being used on a consistent basis, not overworking where the point where it's wearing itself out, and not underworking to the point where it's it's basically gumming up, but you want that sweet part of the curve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because typically what we tell people as a minimum, we would like that pump to run between 7 to 10 seconds. The longer, the better. You don't, like you said, you don't want to undersize it so it runs constantly, but the motors are prepared to run like that. If, typically a homeowner's pit's going to be, 18-inch diameter and 30 inches deep. So it can get the water out of there pretty quick. So then if you have one that is too powerful and it goes on and off, every 2 seconds, that's when you're going to start running into problems. Or like you said, if you undersize it and that pump never shuts off, you're going to have another problem on that end too, because the thing will just run and then eventually will give out.
And these pumps are designed to keep up with your flow of water. That's why they've got the operating range they do, correct?
Correct. Yeah, our pumps are made to continue to run. It's what you would call a shade and pull motor. So the motors are actually designed to be continually run, come on, come off, and for all these things. And their Zoeller pumps are made to be submerged in water. Some pumps will have a motor above or in different places. They actually put theirs in the water. They prefer it that way. And, with our M53 and most of of our other pump line, all of our pumps are going to come cast iron bodies. And what that means to the homeowner, it's cast iron, so you get the durability of it. You don't have to worry about plastic cracking, warping, anything like that. But cast iron actually dissipates the heat from the motor away from it into the water and keeps everything cooler. And heat is probably your number 2 enemy as far as your pump and things like that, because if it overheats, it's going to burn out. And so they found that if they use plastic, it actually traps the heat into the motor, and if it runs too long, it'll cook the motor over time. Whereas the cast iron, not only is it durable, but it actually dissipates the heat a lot better than materials.
Now I have a question for you. So say someone's got a water softener discharge, and it discharges into a pit with a Zoeller pump, and it's being cast iron. Is that's something that we should worry about?
Water softeners aren't an issue or anything like that. If something goes wrong and it's dumping too much solution in there, that could lead to a problem. But no, ours are used to run with water softeners or anything like that. The only thing that would really damage the chemical or damage the pump, would be something that's got a higher acidity level, things like that. And you can get a special pump for that. That's a bronze. And things like that. But the water softener itself isn't going to harm it.
Right. So basically, you've got a pump that for every application, which is
correct.
Awesome.
And
so
yeah, and it's exactly like you said. We like to try to size pumps for each application, and we have ones that work for different situations. So you want to make sure you get the right pump in the right application.
Absolutely. Well, it's like any product that you buy. If you use it properly per manufacturer specs, you're going to get a better result than if you try using it for something that it's not. So, and that makes sense. That makes sense. And a lot of people, I think, run into that where they're asking a product to do something it was never designed to do. Now, the M53, I'm sorry not to cut you off because I know we can just talk pumps all day long. The M53, this is a product that I like. And, Brad, this is one we install. It's the M53, and it also comes in the M98 as well, 508 battery backup combo system, which is the primary.
Correct.
It comes with a primary pump, comes with a backup pump, and comes with the charging unit. And also Zoeller makes a gel battery, AGM battery, that all works in unison together. And this product is a very, very good product. I like it. My company, RJ Graham Plumbing, we guarantee it for 3 years on labor, which is similar. Zoeller guarantees it for 3 years from the manufacturer, which is great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are some other pumps doing it, but I like Zoeller's pump or warranties on it because no hassle. We can get pumps and get products back to homeowners, get them up and running as quick as possible without any downtime. I love that. What's your opinion on this? What's been the feedback and flow rates on these? What have you gotten back from homeowners or from other plumbers in the field?
We've gotten a lot of really, really great feedback on this. You mentioned the 508 and dollar terminology where it's paired together with a battery backup and a primary. We would call it a ProPack. So the ProPack 508 has been very, very, very successful in our market. The pump itself, if you buy them put together, they'll be pre-assembled. So, you put it in the pit, you would add a check valve, connect the wires, things like that. But with our 508, you are actually almost matching what your primary pump could do, which most battery backups can't do off of a battery. You are going to, usually get a drop in the flow. But ours will match what an M53 does. Everything is contained in the pit. The nice thing with the new 508 that we have as well is on the charger, it's all built in for the homeowner. They can download free Zoeller app, sign up for it, and they can hook their system up to it. So then it will test on itself. It'll let you know if an alarm goes off, if something's not working, or it will let you know that it's working properly, and you can get all these alerts on your phone. One of the things I really like to point out, too, about our system with the 508s, when they're all in there, the pumps are on different levels, but say you get that 1 in a 1,000-year rainstorm, and for whatever reason your primary pump isn't keeping up with it, or something happened to your primary pump. Even if the power is on, your battery backup 508 will kick on. Now, if it can't keep up with it, the system will actually run both pumps at the same time to drain the pit down. So that way, if something does happen and you need that extra little oomph, it will have it there for you. But we've gotten really, really great feedback with it. Like you had said, we have a 3-year warranty with these pumps on our parts, and stand by them. All the parts are interchangeable, so if something were to, happen as a part of it, you don't have to replace the whole system. You can just swap out the part for it and move forward with it.
That's one thing. That's one of the parts I like. There's another model that's out there, another competitor that has it, and it's almost like a solid state product where you can't interchange, or it's very difficult to do that. And I'm not a big fan of that product. And I mean, it's popular to some people, and it's recommended. I'm not a big fan of it. I've been using Zoeller for 20 years, so I mean, they've been very good to me. So I'm going to stick with what works and what we can warranty. Otherwise, if it was a product that was going to give us fits, we're not going to guarantee it for 3 years with labor because we can't charge to come out.
Right.
So correct.
Now,
one of the other things I always like to point out with our pumps that most people don't realize is the 508 is actually a self-testing pump. So if you download the app and you hook it into it, you can actually program it to run your battery backup at a scheduled time, just to make sure that everything is working properly, all those kind of things. And I also like to point out the runtime on our batteries. Everybody's different, things like that. But if you were to lose power and you had to run your pump, most time it's not going to run continuous, off and on, off and on. But if for some reason it had to run continuous, you will get 6 hours of battery life out of that. So typically you're going to get longer than that. But I always like to point out that if for some reason your pump never shuts off, you will get 6 hours off of that battery life.
That's good to know. That is really good to know. Now, I believe that and you basically confirmed it with what you said, and I thank you for that, is by you saying that and telling that both of them can kick on in the event of a significant rainfall. They both have independent float switches. So, and that brings up another benefit of the Zoeller, of this system, is the fact that this will run, and this, I basically describe this as a little kid. It's basically, look at me. When I cry, look at me. When this is screaming, or this alarm is going off, this is screaming, look at me. I'm crying for a reason. Now, when this is going off, now there's people out there that have a whole house generator, and I've had them say, well, I don't need a battery backup because I have a whole house generator. When, in fact, I explained to them that, well, the backup system, even though it runs off of a battery, it is also a system that will run and engage and let you know, because it gives off an alarm, that your primary pump has failed. Whereas if you just have a generator and a sump pump, you don't know until you have a whole basement full of water. Or if you have a water alarm in there, which is great, do you have the time to get somebody out there? Because odds are it's going to fail when everybody else is failing and you're going to be stuck in line. The backup system will run and provide you that much needed time so you can get that pump replaced.
Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that you brought that up, because you hit the nail on the head there. Is with the Zoeller pumps, even if the pumping system is good, if it just has to kick on for any reason, it's going to let you know. And like you said, maybe the primary pump isn't working, maybe a float stuck on something, but it's letting you know that it needs attention, which is great. And like you said, the water, high water, or just the water alarms are very good too. But a lot of times those are going to go off, like you said, when the rain is coming down and it's already has your pit filled close to the top of it. So then you're really working against the clock on that one. If you've got to pull something out, place it, put it back in there, and try to beat the rain and the rising water levels, which nobody kind of wants to be in that situation.
Yeah, they just don't have any time. I mean, you want all the time you can get.
Correct.
Speaking of backup pumps, what's your take on the water powered backup pumps compared to the DC pump? I'm kind of looking at like flow rates. What do they pump out comparatively?
Now, and that's going to be, you're going to kind of have your apples and oranges with this one because they're both going to pump, but you're doing, I would say, maybe about half of the pumping capacity with the water backup, but you have indefinite runtime with the power out on there. So it's kind of a give or take with that one. I like it. I think it really, in its particular application, really has its calling. But a lot of it would be if people, lose power often or tend to lose power for extended periods of time. This is a great product just because it doesn't have to run off power. It doesn't have to run off battery. It's a 2-to-1 flow ratio. So what you do with these pumps is you'll actually hook your water line into it, and it creates a suction, which then pumps out the water. So for every gallon pumped in there to create the suction, you're pulling 2 gallons out, which essentially equates to around 13 gallons a minute at about 10 foot ahead on your typical pressure. I would much prefer a battery backup. It's more reliable and it can more, but same. The water power backup has its place. And I've actually known people that have put both in there that maybe, tend to lose power for a lot of period of time or anything like that, and kind of do a double protection that way if you do the space for it. But, I like the battery backup better just because it's a higher performance, but the water power backups definitely have a very, specific but very good place to be and can be very helpful in times.
Sure. And those water powered pumps, there's a little bit more that goes to installing them. They do need, per code compliance, they need a dual check valve with an actual atmospheric vent on it, and you do need a battery powered backup alarm along to go with them. So it's a little bit, the install's a little bit more tricky as opposed to the battery, the ProPack system, for sure.
Correct. Yeah, it was a little bit more to install in that one, and you hit it right on the head there. One of the nice things with the Zoeller water power backup is if you're in a situation where your pit is skinny or it's small or you don't have space, the motor itself can actually be mounted above the pit, and then the pipe will go down into the pit and with the suction there, and then you can kind of suction the water out that way. But it could tie right into your water lines above you in the ceiling, and then you could have pipe down. So it does save people a little bit of space sometimes if they need it.
Definitely. Like we said, every product has its application. It's finding the right product for the application. And that's why it's again, if you're handy, you can install a sump pump. You can replace a sump pump. You can install a backup pump. But it's best to get it sized right, have a licensed professional do it. And whether it's us, we'd love to be able to help everybody out and do it. But whether it's us or you have a licensed plumbing company do it that's going to give you a solid warranty, it's best to just, get peace of mind. If you stick around with us, Mike, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about ejector pumps and just continue on.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, sir. Slowly but surely. This is my 7th week, so we're moving right along. I want to talk to you about ejector pumps. Now, ejector pumps, you have the 264 and 267. The 267 is the cast iron bottom. The 264, I believe, is the plastic, correct?
Correct. Yep, that is correct. There's a slight difference in horsepower between them, but that's about it.
Just one's a half horsepower, one is 4/10.
Correct.
What's the difference? Why did you take away my 10th horsepower?
Some of that is just due to the restrictions, like you were saying. Like we have an M53 and an M98 for things with there. If I look at an M264, you're pumping 60 gallons at 10 foot ahead. If I bump up to the 267, I'm doing 85 gallons at 10 foot ahead. So it's a 25 gallon difference, and things like that. So it's just kind of the applicational difference is the big one, as well as just the base of the pump itself.
But for the most part, these pumps will do the job. So
correct. Yeah, both of these we see going to houses all the time. So it's just a matter of how many stories or how far you have to pump maybe to hit the sewer line, things like that.
Now, I found no difference in the way they function, as far as because most applications the head height is pretty much like you said, right around the 10 foot. It's not having to lift up and then launch it, lift it up 10 feet and then launch it another 15, 20 feet down the line. So, I mean, for the most part, it's lifting and launching it probably maybe 5 feet away. It's really close to the common main and where it's discharging to. So, for the most part, I think these are pretty much, they're six in one hand for the most part. I mean, but I guess it's good to know that you have, okay, if I need to have a little extra oomph behind it, that would be good. Now, one thing I found with my personal thing is I found that, and again, it goes with having the right people do the job and having people who know what's going on and know what they're doing, is with the heavier cast iron bottom pump, people will have, because they were heavy, dropped them. And those legs, which that pump is built very well, those pumps pierce the bottom of the ejector pit, which turn that ejector pit into a sump pit really quick, because those pits are deeper than most sump pits. And they're supposed to be sealed so you don't get any groundwater in. And we've run into this on several occasions where they get heavy rains and the backup pump's not kicking on, or the primary pump's not kicking on their sump pump, but their ejector pump is kicking on. So I always say, that's why I always get the right person for the job, get somebody who knows what they're doing, because they've seen this, they've run into this. And, that's just my opinion on it. But I mean, you just got to be careful with it. Obviously, this is not a Zoeller issue. It's just a testament to how well that Zoeller pump is made, that it can have that kind of weight behind it. So it's a well-built pump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that cast iron can add some weight to it. And like you said, you watch out for either puncturing the bottom, or one thing that maybe somebody might do that we have seen is when they go to lower it, there's a metal handle on the pump, but they'll lower it with the electrical plug. And that's, a big no-no, because that thing is sealed for water time and everything like that. And if you drop it in there, a lot of times you pull that cord out a little bit, and even if you just eke it out just a little bit, and a little bit of water gets into there, that can ruin the pump, because then you're letting moisture into the motor and everything else, and then that's going to lead to problems further down the road.
Exactly.
What big question? I know Steve kind of touched on it earlier. What are you guys' pump warranties, and how do they go off of the tag on the cord, or is it our invoices? How do you guys do that?
Usually, at first glance, we'll look at the cord to get an idea for it. But what we do is we go off the date of invoice. So if, you buy a pump and maybe you get it and it's a couple months after it's manufactured, but then it gets installed, we'll start our 3-year warranty there. We don't want any of the homeowners or, you as a contractor to feel that we've cheated you. If, you happen to buy a pump from somewhere and it's 5 months old, the pump is great. There's nothing wrong with the pump, but now you're eating 5 months into the warranty, which isn't fair to you. So if we can get, an invoice that proves when it was installed, we can go from the date of install. That way we can assure that you get the full 3-year warranty.
Okay. What about the people that, because we got a little bit of time and a couple little things to run through, so we'll try to run through these real quick. What about the people who, and I see them online, that, well, you know what? You don't have to go to a supply house. You don't have to go online. Buy it from Amazon. Buy it from these other unknown sites. Can they buy Zoellers from there?
Yeah. You can, but I would not recommend it at all. If you do find a Zoeller pump that is online, especially on Amazon, you are two-stepping that pump through somebody else that bought it elsewhere. Zoeller does not sell those directly to Amazon or anybody like that. So then when you come to the problem with the warranty, we take them back to where they were purchased with a contractor, the wholesale, and we can assure that you can get you your 3 years. If it's purchased off Amazon, our hands are kind of tied, and a lot of times Amazon or some of these online sellers will not warranty the pumps. I've seen it where they'll send out a pump and it's 2 or 3 years old, or I've had one that's come in pieces that the motor was detached and things. So you just never really know what you're getting. I don't recommend it. I would always recommend going through a trade professional. They're to be able to get you the pump, the warranty. They're going to assure that everything works. It's installed properly. and everything like that, I would not recommend going online, just because you never know what the product is you're going to get. Whereas if we were to go, through yourself or a professional, you know exactly what you're getting, and it's going to be installed correctly.
So you're saying we should go through a quality supplier like William F. Meyer in Crest Hill for all your sump pump needs, or a licensed plumbing professional company like RJ Graham Plumbing.
Correct. I mean, those are who we deal with. I can get any kind of invoices, things I need to warranty the pumps and make sure that you get the proper pumps. We've had in the years past where, they say imitation is the best form of flattery, where people actually made pumps that were almost identical to a Zoeller pump, and people were trying to return them for warranty. And unfortunately, we had to tell them that that's not our pump and can't do anything. And, they got it either at a big box store or online. And, unfortunately, those people are out their money. They're out there pumping and things like that. Whereas like you had said, if you go through somebody like a WMF Meyer or a trade professional, you can sleep a lot easier at night and know the product is right and everything is warranted and ready to go.
And you're getting a contractor grade pump that is
correct.
That has a great warranty. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. I told you we could talk pumps all day, man. I mean, we could.
I can talk all day. So
there's just so many different products and that are out there, and it's just like I said, I've actually ran into, like I said, the bronze pump. I ran into, we installed a 3-inch ejector pump at a commercial application. So we've used a lot of Zoeller products. So when you said the brass pump or the bronze pump, I knew exactly what you were talking about on that. But I want to thank you for being on the show. And I will definitely have you on again, because we're going to talk some other products, and there's so much more to talk about on it that we're just run out of time.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I'd be more than happy to come on anytime and talk about pumps and help people out. So,
all right, thank you. I appreciate it. All righty, and I want to thank Michael for being on the show. And our next week's guest is going to be Steve Fagan with Mr. Tubbs. And Brad, you want to add something real quick?
I did. I actually have a quick shout out. I suggest if you guys are on Facebook, you should go follow my buddy Tom. He's doing the What's Going Down in Downtown J-Town. It's a podcast. He's got a Facebook page. Talks a lot of community stuff, a lot of local music stuff. Great information for folks that are in the Joliet area. Definitely check him out and see what he's doing out there.
And also, lastly, I wanted to mention, first show I did, I mentioned a Facebook page called New Lenox Neighbors in Need Facebook page. Definitely check them out and see if you can help anybody out. If there's also other Facebook pages in other communities that are doing the same thing, neighbors helping neighbors, send us over a text, email to the show. We'd like to give them a shout out, because it doesn't cost a dime to help people out. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. So do that, and